for us to review our papers this morning. We're joined by our newspaper analyst, Comrade Abel John Good. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Nelson.
I will just be picking out some headlines and we'll be analyzing as we are moving from one headline to the other. So the Guardian newspaper has as major headline, a ticking time bomb. How poor hygiene, food inflation complicates cholera outbreak. That's on big story pages 4 and 5. We just finished talking about cholera this morning on our interview segment, and now it has been attributed to poor hygiene, food inflation. So the headline says it is a ticking time bomb. How poor hygiene, food inflation complicates cholera outbreak. That's on big story pages 4 and 5. And I'll just take one more headline. ASU warns of imminent strike, bemoans federal government's insincerity. Comrade John Good. ASU again. ASU warns of imminent strike, bemoans federal government's insincerity.
All right. So let's take the next paper, The Punch. The major headline here says, cholera death toll rises to 37 as Lagos records 401 cases. And we've got two riders there, but because of time, we'll let that slide. And the last headline I'm taken from the Punch newspaper. Federal government probes 2.7 trillion naira subsidy debt and lists Auditor General. Can get details of that story on page 17 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, let's look at the Daily Trust now. Daily Trust has as major headline, Kano Emirates, court leaves contenders in limbo. So many riders to that story, but that story can be found in page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And I'm going to take one headline from ASU again. Governors turned varsities into constituency projects, says ASU.
All right, moving now to the Daily Times newspaper. The major headline here says, economic hardship, let Nigerians breathe. PRP tells Tinubu. We've got two riders here, and another headline I'll be taking from the Daily Times is Rivers Assembly Appeal Court reserves judgment in appeal seeking to restore 25 vacant seats.
All right, let's look at the Vanguard newspaper now. Major headline on the Vanguard says, cholera, death toll hits 21 in Lagos, 401 cases recorded. Find details of that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, next is the Nigerian Tribune. The lead is similar with the previous newspaper. Cholera death toll hits 21 in Lagos, cases rise to 401. And let's take this one. Federal government pushes for 18-month extension of $800 million World Bank palliative scheme. And lastly, from the Nigerian Tribune, Nigeria's total public debt now 121.67 trillion naira, and this is according to the DMO.
All right, and the last paper for review this morning is a Daily Independent newspaper. Major headline, Kano government says Sanusi remains emir despite court judgment. The riders ask police to eject Ado Bayero from Nasarawa Mini Palace. At the top strip, we have protesters storm Kaduna government house, demand El-Rufai's arrest. We also have this headline at the bottom strip of the Daily Independent that says, only court order will make us vacate Rivers local government secretariat, says IGP. The riders, no crisis in Rivers. It's peaceful, not under siege, says Fubara. All right, we'll come back to the studio now as we welcome our newspaper analyst once again, Comrade Abel John Good. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. All right, a ticking time bomb, as the Guardian has described it. Poor hygiene, food inflation complicates cholera outbreak. The numbers are really, really disturbing. Lagos is worst hit.
But I don't know how food inflation complicates poor hygiene. Okay, yes, it is possible because you could not afford fresh tomato, you go for spoiled one. You get to buy the cheaper one, and maybe when not prepared, leads to cholera. Well, I would just say that it is possible that food inflation can cause it. There's nothing food inflation would not cause, because when you cannot afford food in a highbrow restaurants, you go to Mama Put, local put to buy food to eat, and the same thing goes to the market. So we should just let the government know that there are things they're supposed to do. First of all, sanitize people very well. Sensitize people very well. Then after sensitize people very well, then make sure that food vendors and other edible foods, there's good hygiene. They sanitize all their products very well, so that there won't be maybe flies or the things that carries cholera around. And even our hospitals too, they should also be well equipped, and our people should also be well prepared ahead of the cholera, because the thing is spreading. Everything starts in Lagos. Lagos is the most populated city, after Kano in the country, and it's the common. So everybody goes there, cheap things are there, expensive things are there. So the government just need to brace up to eat.
Food inflation is actually very disturbing. The latest trend is people are using cucumbers to make stew because they cannot afford tomatoes. So it's
really true that they cannot afford tomatoes, or maybe because it's maybe just new inventory.
They cannot.
The tomato is also as expensive as the cucumber.
Cucumber?
Yes, what do you call it, of cucumber? You will not get it less than 400 naira.
But
an average size.
You get 4 seeds of tomatoes for 1,000 naira or more. So that's why they are going for cucumbers.
Both of them are water, because by the time you slice the cucumber, you cook the whole cucumber is water.
Food inflation is
for it to be thick, you have to boil it very well to thicken it. So if you look at it, it is the same thing. It's not cheaper than the tomato.
Let's move to our next story. Let's head to Kano State. From the Daily Trust, it says, Kano Emirate, court leaves contenders in limbo. We've got 3 riders. One says, Governor Yusuf's actions of May 23 null void. Ruling affirmed Bayero's deposition, and this is credited to the Attorney General, asks police to evict 15th Emir. The 3rd rider, judge's decisions strange, confusing. This is coming from Professor Yadudu.
Well, in as much as I will agree with the Chief Judge of Kano State that Sanusi should remain the emir, the state government should also know that it ought to respect the ruling of the judge of the court, though they have a room to appeal. The court have ruled that Sanusi instrument was illegal. What they did at May 20 was illegal. Yes, it was illegal. Depends on what was presented to the court. One would expect that Sanusi should vacate the office and let Ado Bayero return. But the state government, because they want to appeal it, and there's room for appeal, that was the reason they make that statement. So not until we hear from the appeal court, we cannot say whether Sanusi stay or not. But so far for now, it can just be there as a police order. That is it.
Okay. Protesters demand El-Rufai's trial for alleged 423 billion naira theft. We also have another headline on the Daily Independence that says protesters storm Kaduna government house, demands El-Rufai's arrest.
For 400 and what billion you said?
423 billion naira.
I didn't read the story, but there's something we should get clear. Okay. Are they talking about misappropriation or theft? Because if you say theft, which means you remove 423 billion.
According to the headline here, the Punch.
How much is the state allocation? What is the state allocation for 8 years of El-Rufai? How much? Just check allocation. Kaduna State is one of the average state high allocation for the federal government that receive FAC. It's not like Delta. You understand me? Yeah. So if you now say, okay, just calculate how much you receive in 8 years, then how much was salary for 8 years? Remove it. Then know how much before you now say this man stole that amount.
423 billion.
So if you say misappropriation, you know there's difference between misappropriation and theft. And many persons misinterpret appropriation for theft. For example, now you are the GM of DBS. You are giving maybe 200 million naira to equip TV, your studio here now.
Yeah.
Then you now realize that before preparing to do this work, you find that a radio station, something was wrong there, or something is wrong there. Let me just do that. Take it at that angle. You now carry the 200 million. Maybe you take like 50 million and spend there. Then maybe your power supply have issue. You need power supply immediately. You then took another 50 million to that particular place. You know this is what called misappropriation. That does not mean you stole the money that was to be used for this place, but you misappropriated.
But at least the money was used for the establishment.
Yes, it's for the establishment. That is what I'm trying to drive at. If El-Rufai, as a governor, money was supposed to be appropriated for social projects, that maybe there's a suggestion of other particular areas, and maybe did not spend the money on that area, it should be tried for misappropriation, which is a crime, because you can use self-centeredness to misappropriate funds. You are in TV. Somebody is in engineering, it's a different department. Somebody is in MCR, it's a different department. Because you are in TV, the money comes to you now. You want to favor TV instead of generalizing.
Do you think this is a case? Do you truly think this is a case of misappropriation? Because protesters have stormed government house. They are saying El-Rufai should be arrested. So do you think they would storm government house because of misappropriation or theft?
This is, let me tell you, my dear comrade, protesters, there's always somebody that is beating the drum behind. El-Rufai brought Sani Uba, the present governor, was his boy. In short, he even boasted then how he established Muslim ticket. You know, El-Rufai started this Muslim ticket in Kaduna State, and even brought the guy, was his political godson. Now they fell apart. Don't you think somebody is beating this? It's like what is happening in Rivers State. Are you getting me? I just asked you a question now. How much is the allocation for that 8 years of El-Rufai? And how much was salary? How much was salary monthly? Okay. Not talk about project, because El-Rufai was one of the, at least the governor that you will rate above average in terms of performance in the north. How much was the allocation for that 8 years?
Of time, let's go off this story.
You will know that somebody is beating the drum behind for those protesters.
Okay. Now, this headline from the Daily Independent. Only court order will make us vacate Rivers local government secretariats, and this is coming from the IGP. And the writer here says, no crisis in Rivers. It's peaceful, not under siege, says Fubara.
It's peaceful, but there's tension.
Fubara is not sincere with even himself, not talk of Rivers. How can you say this? When people die, 2 people died out of the protest. We'll be hearing of the war, we'll be watching them. What has been happening between him and the ex-vice governor, who is the minister for FCT, and the crisis rocking the state, the 3-member House of Assembly. I am telling you that the Rivers State is peaceful. I support the IG should not vacate that place, because if you leave, if anything happens, it's the IG that we heard the person. Here were the police when people were protesting. So the police should hold on to the local government, but there will be peace. Because Fubara did not manage that crisis very well. In as much as we heard that as the chief security officer also did not manage that. Why did he not conduct the election before the time, before the expiration of the date? Okay. You know that your tenure will expire. We're in this country now. Before May 29, next 2027, there will be election. You will pray for the election. Why did you not do that for the local government? So the governors are 40 everywhere, not only Rivers State. In all the whole states, governors will know that election will. Government, local government tenure will expire after time. You will not want to conduct election because you want to install critical committee so that you'll be collecting the allowances, the allocation of those local governments.
Okay. I saw you nodding your head when I was taking this particular headline. ASU says governors have turned varsities to constituency projects, and they are warning of imminent strike.
And that is a fact. The federal government, the federal state government, the staff, the university, the higher institution of their fund, because they want to be claiming credit for what ought to be done for those schools. So I support ASU totally.
Okay. All right, that's the last headline we will be taking this morning. Thank you so much, Comrade Abel John Gold, for joining us.
It's good to have you as always.
Yes. Okay, your last words.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of Morning Ride here on Delta Television. I'd like to emphasize on cholera. So I ensure that you keep up with what the dietitian said, proper hygiene, and there's no need to panic. Once you see any of the symptoms, get yourself quickly to the hospital. Do have yourself a lovely weekend.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you on Morning Ride. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7 a.m. for Morning Ride. Have yourself a wonderful weekend, and please stay safe and ensure that you keep your food and your water clean to prevent cholera. Bye.